This conference will now be recorded.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good morning or good evening, in whichever time zone you are present. So, could you please confirm whether you are able to listen to me and see my screen?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, okay, fine, cool. Let me introduce myself. Um my name is Arvind. So, I'll be your trainer for this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular. So and React, like we'll see how it goes. Whether I will continue with React or some other faculty will take that way. We'll see. Mm, but I'll be the trainer for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Angular. So about me, like I have overall near to 8+ years of experience. So working in IT, I've started my career from service-based companies and then moved to prod-based companies. Currently associated with one of the prod-based company here at India. Uh, so yeah, so coming to training, like I have a good amount of experience in training both Java as well as UI, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Angular, front end technologies. So that's about it. Let us get started. Okay. So, like you have joined this course to eventually to eventually do something and to eventually earn some money or to eventually work on your passion. Some for some people and for some people eventually earn some money or lead their daily life. So the final goal or the final agenda of this course is you have to become perfect software engineer, a perfect software engineer. So we will see like what kind of roles and responsibilities the software engineer will have and how many different variants of software engineers are present in the market right now and what they will do. Like we will just take an overview of what the software engineer does in next probably 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will move ahead as our course goes. uh, we'll just take a little bit of overview so that learning of next pieces of our course is very important. So this is just for your understanding. Uh, uh, I'm giving you a little bit of overview on the software engineer concept. Okay. So, so software engineers, like there are multiple kinds of or multiple types of software engineers. The first one, which is like a little bit old one, is called as backend engineer. backend engineer. This fellow works on backend technologies. This fellow works on backend technologies. This fellow uses code at the backend. This fellow writes the code at the backend. So backend engineer usually works on technologies like um, uh, Java or .NET or or Python, etc., etc. Like there are a lot of other backend things as well. So um, so this fellow will work on will learn Java, .NET, Python, etc. So that way, if he learn these technologies, then that fellow will become backend engineer and works on the backend. So backend is something which is not visible to the customer. Backend is something which is not visible to the customer. It sits at the back, so nobody would be able to um, see that backend except the developer. If somebody has seen that backend, or if somebody has got control of the backend, then that's where uh, people say that your system got hacked. uh, that's where like people say that your system got hacked. So if it is in backend, like it should be either controlled by the company or the developer, who works on that, who works on those things. Otherwise, if it is visible to somebody else, then that is basically called as hacking. So that's what backend engineer does. Backend engineer rules are working at the backend, so that way he will work on Java, .NET, Python, etc., etc. Okay, so next, coming to next part, front end engineer. Front end engineer. So in shortcut, people also call it as FE, or like that. People call it as front end engineer. This front end engineer, um, whatever the code this front end engineer writes, whatever the code the front end engineers write, will work in front of the customer, will execute or will work in front of the customer. So what is in front, sir? What is in front? Like, let's say if I open Google, if I open Google, so there is some source code associated to this Google. So if you want to see that source code, right click, right click, right click, view page source. There is view page source. There is view page source. So click on view page source. You will see a lot of code over here. You will see a lot of code. You're seeing a lot of code over here. So this is the code written by a front end engineer. This is the code written by a front end engineer. So the code written by front end engineer will execute in the browser. The code written by the front end engineer will execute in the browser. That means customer is able to see the code. Customer is able to see the code. He cannot modify the code, but he should be able to see the code. Whatever front end engineer writes, whatever the front end engineer writes, whatever the code front end engineers write, most of the code is visible in the browser. Most of the code is visible in the browser. Customer may not be able to edit it. Customer may not be able to edit it. Customer in the sense like the user may not be able to edit it, but it is visible. It is visible. So um, uh, that's why based on the execution, backend engineer will work on the code, will execute at the backend. Front end engineer will write the code which will execute on the front end, front end means in the browser. Front end means in the browser. So front end engineer will work on technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, Angular, React, React, Vue.js, like that. There are a lot of technologies, like a lot of technologies in the front end right now. In front end, every 1 hour, every 2 hours, new thing will come, because it is a little bit simple, and it has like very huge what we say, huge community of people working on front end. So every now and then, like one of the engineer, like on the overnight, he might get some thought and he will create some framework, and then that framework is comes into the market, a little bit. But nowadays, like Angular and React and Vue are more popular compared to other frameworks. That's why like most of the people are focusing on these three. But Vue.js is kind of okay. Angular and React is having great demand compared to Vue.js. Okay, so backend works on backend technologies, and front end works on HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So JS I say JavaScript. JS I say JavaScript. Shortcut, people call it as JS. We'll call it as JS. So one more thing, here there is Java, here there is Java, here there is Java, here there is Java. So this Java and this Java are two different things in the world. So I don't know why the God's sake people have kept the same name. Like people do mistakes in the history. Like if you look at history, there were a lot of mistakes made due to which there are a lot of issues which people has faced, the human community has faced as a whole. So in that one of the mistake is also naming this Java and JavaScript the same starting with Java, the same starting with Java, same starting with Java. At the point of time to get some popularity, they named it as JavaScript. But nowadays it is causing confusion for people who are learning it for the first time. People think that Java and JavaScript are the same, but they are not the same. They are completely different things. Java executes Java executes in the backend. Java executes in the backend, whereas JavaScript executes in the front end. Whereas JavaScript executes in the front end. There are days when Java also executed in the front end, but I don't want to come to that topic. That's a pretty old thing. If you have um, if you know somebody who has white hair and who is pretty old, like pretty old in software engineering, that fellow knows how it executes in the front end. But nowadays that is gone. Nowadays that is the one. So now you can assume that Java is executed in the backend and JavaScript will be executed in the front end. JavaScript will be executed in the front end. Okay, these two are not the same. These two are not the same. Please do remember that. Please do remember that. And there are tools related work. Like I don't call it as tools engineer, but some people who works on tools, lot of tools like Pega, and then there are some tools in Oracle like Oracle HDM. There is some tools like I don't. There are a lot of tools in the market right now. Like there is something called as RPA. Like there are a lot of tools in the market right now. So uh, like mm, those kind of developers or those kind of engineers will work on those tools, will work on some work on those tools. And then and then there is something called as DevOps. And then there is called as DevOps is basically development operations, like most of the uh, work required for these three fellows, right? um, this fellow is like a facilitator. This fellow is like a facilitator. Let's assume you are in a classroom. Let's assume these three fellows are present in a classroom. Let's say if this fellow want a piece of chalk, then he will inform DevOps to bring the piece of chalk. If this fellow wants something else, then this fellow will inform DevOps to bring some piece of chalk. So this DevOps fellow is like a facilitator to do these operations, to do the work of backend and front end. And these tools are like a lot of things for making them easier. DevOps is DevOps is present in development operations. So in this, like a lot of tools are there, like Git, Jenkins, and whatnot. There are things like Kubernetes. Cloud also comes sometimes. Like cloud is somewhere around. It is between DevOps and cloud. Like there are a lot of things. Docker, Ansible. Like there are a lot of small things which are there. In this DevOps is an ocean. If you start learning like in the ocean, like there are a lot of tools and technologies to learn the DevOps. It's up to the the candidates wish and candidates willing to learn. A lot of tools are there, but not all companies use all the tools. It depends on the company and those kind of stuff. Okay, that's about DevOps. And then like there are people who works on only DB. Most of the backend engineers should also work on DB. Most of the backend engineers should also work on DB. Must and should, like if you're a backend engineer, then you should also work on the DB. Without DB, no backend engineer is present. You cannot say in an interview, I know Java, but I don't know database. Then they will just okay, we will get back to you later. That's what HR will say. So we'll get back to you later means they will never get back. That's the point. So um, so yeah, this backend engineer will also work on DB, but there are also people who specially works on DB. They're called as DBAs, database administrators. Database administrators are the fellows who sit, like who has a room on top of companies building. Like he'll sit in, let's say companies having fifth floor, There's a fellow called as DBA, database administrators. He will sit. Let's say company is having 5 floors. DBA will have sixth floor. He will sit there in that sixth floor. Always, none or the other issue will come to the DBA. He has to be like pretty quick, like because database is if database is a pretty core thing for any software company. Um, Sometimes like DBS has to stay there for all nights, and most of the DBS works in support kind of model. Like 8 hours they'll work, and remaining 8 hours like in the support kind of model, people work. So this in this DBA like for DB like there are tools like there are softwares like SQL Server, like MySQL, DB nothing but database where your data gets stored. Anything like let's say you log into Facebook, your user credentials is stored in the DB. Like any data which you see in your software that is present in the DB. MySQL, like Oracle, all these are called as SQL databases. All these are called as SQL databases, SQL databases, and there are some no SQL databases like MongoDB, MongoDB, DynamoDB is something. Like a lot of Cosmos DB. There are a lot of softwares. These are all belong to NoSQL, NoSQL world. These are all belong to NoSQL world. And there is like new thing comes into the market like data engineering. It used to be not there when I started my career. This data engineering is not like that much that much having. There are not that many openings at this point of time. But nowadays, data engineering is also having like a good amount of things. But this is like pretty good. Most of the people chooses IITs and those kind of people for hiring actually. But nowadays, like lot of people who are learning course in Amirpet also getting into this data engineering concept. So it majorly like uses Hadoop, Spark, those kind of things. Hive, a lot of other things are also present in this data engineering thing, like which is out of our scope right now, but not exactly this. There are a lot of other things like network engineer is also present. A lot of other rules were there, but on a high level, these are all the things which you see. Like if you see some of your friend, he will be fitting like who is working as a software engineer, he will be fitting in one of this thing. And one more thing is called as full stack engineer. One more thing is called as full stack engineer. Usually, full stack engineer means the definition of full stack means he works on both backend and front end. He works on both backend and front end. Full stack means like he works on Java, either Java or .NET or Python, along with any of the UI framework like Angular or React or Vue or any of the UI framework right now. Full stack means he works on both backend and front end. But some companies also assume that full stack means he should also work on DevOps, and he should also work on DB, and he should also work on networking. Like it depends on the company to company. What is the actual meaning of full stack? Some companies expect to do full stack engineer means he want to do everything. He can do everything in the project. Any kind of work in the project can be done by full stack engineer. So yeah, so that is full stack engineer. Full stack engineer like usually means he can work on any of the technology which is present over here, that's what full stack engineer is. Some companies think that full stack engineer means the real meaning currently in the world is he should work on both Java and or Java, any of the backend or any of the front end. Then we can consider ourselves as full stack engineer. But nowadays, some companies are also asking, okay, you have backend and front end. Yes, okay. Along with backend and front end, do you have knowledge on cloud? Yes, cloud. Okay. Along with cloud, do you have knowledge on big data? Or like big data also mean data engineering in some sense. Yes, I do work on Hadoop, Spark. Like depends on the company to company, but usually most of the times it is backend and front end. That combination calls as full stack. So this role has become popular nowadays. When I've started my career, there is no concept of full stack engineer. Like there used to be only backend engineer. Front end engineers will not have don't have that much demand. It used to be there, but it is not that much great at the point of time, because in those days front-end engineers is not a great role. It doesn't give much salaries, many salaries. So in those days, like it doesn't have that much demand, but it is called as like it is like if you are having biryani, like Java, let's say Java is biryani, then HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is considered as some side dishes, like raita or something like that. It used to be like that in those days. Like let's take career in 8 10 years back. So main thing is Java, HTML, is JavaScript. If you know, that is well and good. If you don't know also, that's not a problem in those days. But nowadays, for a full stack engineer, it is must and should that along with Java, one framework the candidate should work on in the full stack. In olden days, like backend used to have great demand and front end don't have that much demand. But nowadays, like past, like if I see the trend after I've started my career, front end is also having good demand in the market right now. So a lot of back-end engineers are also learning front-end engineers, are also becoming learning front-end by joining courses like ours, and then they're becoming full stack because front-end is having good demand in the market right now. There are a lot of openings coming for front-end, either in US as well as in India. Front-end engineer is having great demand, and there is good amount of pay associated with it with respect to the front-end engineer. Um, yeah. So it is easy to learn and easy to work on, easy to sustain in the market. Um, and like you can complete the course in like at max 2 months, and then you can start working on the project. So as it is simple and easy to learn, and then getting the job faster, getting into the project faster. So front end, like a lot of people are learning front end nowadays at a very good pace. Like they're completing the course and then they're starting the job, and then marketing, and then starting working on the front end thing. But if you want to learn Java, that's a pretty big ocean. It takes nearly 1 year to 1.5 year to complete the Java course in Amirpet. For example, let's say, or if you're learning outside, then you will not get like if you're not spending good amount of time in Java, then you'll not get that much exposure, and you may not be able to clear the interviews. Let's say keeping 3 4 years of experience and then cracking the Java job is not a simple thing. So 3 4 years of experience, if you want to crack a Java job, that means like you should have either luck or God is waiting for you somewhere around the fake experience. So, but HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Angular, it is easy to crack the interview, even 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 it is like 5 6 years of experience. Also, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, it's easy to crack the interview. So that's why a lot of people are choosing front end, like whoever doesn't have jobs right now, also choosing front end as their career path, because it is easy to learn and then start working on the things. Like in my last batch, I think there is a student who is I think eighth class, I think eighth standard or ninth standard, I don't exactly remember. That fellow, like my cousin, that fellow also joined the course, and then he learned HTML and CSS. JavaScript, like he didn't join after that, but HTML and CSS he also learned, and then like, it is pretty simple to learn. Yeah. So and one more point in this front end concept. So front end engineer sometimes also called as UI engineer. So UI engineer means user interface engineer, because you're working on the user interface. You're working on the user interface, what user is seeing. So that's why it's also called as uh, uh, UI engineer. And like you might also see sometimes in the job openings UX. UX means user experience. UX and UI both are two different things. So when I started my career, I don't know that UX and UI are different, because it is not that much scoped in those days. I told, like when there was a job interview, it was for UX, and I applied, and then like I don't know somehow I got the interview call, and they're asking some useless things in the interview. I don't know why they're asking that. Then I came home and I researched that these two are two different things, UX and UI. UX is user experience and UI is user interface. So UI is actually an engineering kind of thing. So where you actually write the code to develop the applications, but UX is like, let's say you yourself or a company head. Let's assume you are a company head and you want to create a website. And what you do is, first you give your ideas to the UX. The UX will design the website. He will first design the website. How do he design? So there's a software in iOS, Mac, called a Sketch. Like most of people use different softwares, but there are some softwares in which that UX engineer will take the requirements from that product manager or somebody, and he will just draw those diagrams, and he will just draw those diagrams in the software, and then he will just present those diagrams to the product manager. And product manager says, okay, this is good, you can start working on it. Then this UX will share those diagrams to UI engineer, and UI engineer will start working on those diagrams. So UX job is to create the diagrams. It is like um, it is like painting. UX is like painting. It is more or less like not engineering work kind of, but it's more or less like artist kind of work. Like if you're good at drawing diagrams, or if you're good at marketing side jobs, or if you're good at those kind of things, like UX is your way to go. Like there are some courses for UX also, but UX mainly people who works on um, artistic kind of things, they will get they'll get chosen to this UX. But we are not learning that. Like we are learning UI. So please make sure that you are not applying for UX related jobs. You are applying only for UI related jobs. That's about it. Any questions so far on the overview about software engineering?
Yeah, thanks, Arvind. It's a nice introduction about all the software roles available actually. So, so coming to the training course, like is you start with HTML and then go CSS, like is, and then uh, go to the deep understanding about the JavaScript, and then go to Angular. So,
Yeah. So I'll come to that. Like, but as you have asked the question, so first we'll start our course with HTML and then with CSS, and then we'll spend most of the time, like good amount of time in JavaScript. This is very important for the course. Like this is like pillars for the course. If you learn JavaScript, like we go in depth in the JavaScript part, and then we'll move to Angular, and then after which we'll go to React. Okay, but among these all these things, JavaScript is a major core concept. We'll spend in-depth knowledge in JavaScript as well as in Angular. So that's how the course goes: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then Angular, and then React. So when we are learning Angular, like we'll also touch a little bit on Node.js, but Node.js is no different from JavaScript. Like it is one and the same. But yeah, we'll touch that as well a little bit while we are learning Angular. Yeah.
when coming to the JavaScript, so you're going to also cover about the deep understanding about the object oriented programming, right?
Yes. Everything.
Great,
That's
Arvind.
what.
Yeah, good to
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like JavaScript, like I personally believe that a lot of people will focus mainly on Angular or React, something like that. But I don't I think that is kind of good, but I don't approve of that. I feel that from my experience, like when I started my career, like there was no Angular or there was no React, there was no Vue.js, as if I know. So like I've learned JavaScript when I started my career. After which there was something called as jQuery. jQuery came into the market, and jQuery has ruled the market for a good amount of time. So and then after that Wrangler come, and then like a lot of people learned Angular, and then React came, and then like Angular and React summer of like within a span of like 1 to 2 years, like it came. So learning of JavaScript makes your job easier. So today Angular and React were there. Tomorrow, if some other framework has come, learning that will be simpler if you spend a more good amount of time in JavaScript. So that's what I believe. For learning Angular, like we should also learn something called as TypeScript. Uh, this TypeScript like is similar to JavaScript. We will learn that. Like once you learn JavaScript, like a lot of other things will be easier. TypeScript will be easier. A lot of other things will be easier. So we'll spend good amount of time in JavaScript, and then we'll move to Angular, or we'll move to React or whatnot. Yeah.
So, as part of this HTML and CSS learning, so do you also going to talk about the responsive web learning?
So responsive web design like is part of the same HTML and CSS. In the CSS part, we'll talk a little bit about responsive web design. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. As you have asked the same question, like I just want to say some point. Like in some companies, right? In some sophisticated companies also, to make the UI engineer job even more simpler, there are people specially for HTML and CSS. Like there are people who specially work on HTML and CSS, and your job is to take that HTML and CSS and then implement, like copy that code and then merge that with Angular and or React. So, but not all companies uses that, but most of the companies, not most of the companies, very small sophisticated companies only does it. HTML and CSS will have one fellow called as HTML developer. That fellow will do HTML and CSS, and you as a UI engineer, you work on JavaScript and Angular or React or Vue.js. That is another course of action, and another way of applying for jobs. That Yeah. Any other questions? Shall we move to the next topic? Any other questions or something like that? Okay, I assume I take that as a no. Like we will take a little bit of introduction to our course and then we'll see how it goes. So in our course, mostly we will cover, like it's a 2 month course. We'll cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, React, and Vue. So uh, we'll spend depends on how it goes. Like we start our course with HTML and CSS as I have mentioned earlier, and then we move to JavaScript, and then we'll move to Angular. So this course, most of the times, every day it's a 1 hour. Every day it's a 1 hour course, 1 hour class every day. Most probably at the same time, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock India time, but I don't know, like based on your time zone, it varies. Um, IST, and then like on weekends you will have, we will spend a good amount of time. Like India weekends, we'll spend good amount of time. Like on Saturday or Sunday, like we will take 3 hours of session. You need to be prepared for that. On Saturday and Sunday, we will take 3 hours of sessions. Um, because completing the course is very important. In the initial days, like I think initial 1 2 weeks, there may not be much sessions, but I don't guarantee that. But you need to be get prepared on weekends, on Saturday and Sunday. India Saturday and Sunday, India Saturday and Sunday, you will have 3 hours of 3 hours of class. On India's Monday morning, there won't be any class. On India's Monday, there won't be any class. On IST, like IST Monday morning, there won't be any class. Remaining all days, there will be the class. Remaining all days, 1 hour of class per day, 1 hour of class per day, and on Saturday and Sunday, 3 hours of class. Like at the end, I'll be also, or when we are working on Angular or something like that, I'll be also giving you a requirements document, something like that, in which you can start working on one project. That's a parallel kind of work. I'll be there for guidance, but I guarantee that um, like you have to, you are learning, like you need to be sure that you are learning the things and then working on the project parallelly. So I need every day 1 hour of class and at least 1 hour of practice in your day. So 24 hours of your day, you sleep for 8 hours, you enjoy, you do everything, but my course requires, whatever I teach in the class requires 1 hour of class and then 1 hour of learning, 1 hour of reading at your home. 2 hours I need. So how do you plan yourself? That is your wish, but don't think that like this session is recorded and then I'll get the recording, I will learn later, and then now I am not listening to the class, I'll learn later. You're joining, and then on the next tab, I think most of the people in the current class also might be opening Facebook in the next tab and then browsing the videos, or browsing the Facebook. I know that most of the people does it, but don't do that. So so I personally feel that learning is the most important thing in the world which you can have. Anything in this world, learning, whatever you learn, that's the most important thing. So let us start with anything in this world. If you learn, that is very well there in your future. Nobody can take away that from your brain. Let's say you learned how to drive a bicycle. let's say you learn how to drive a bicycle, you will learn that in your brain, like that sits in your brain. Nobody should be able to take away from your brain. That's a skill you added into your brain. You have learned how to do bike, motorcycle, then that is there in your brain, or car, that is there in your brain. Nobody will be able to take. You learned how to do, or how to do planting. You learned how to do how to write theories, or how to write essays, or you learned how to crack jokes, or you learned how to do boxing, or you learned how to do dance, or you learn how to do gym, or workouts, like lot of things. If you learn something, that will be sticking in your brain. So but what you need to do, you need to take some of your time, some of your enjoyment time, and you need to focus. You need to focus for next 2 months, and then just spend 2 hours of time in your day on weekdays, and then mostly 3 to 4 hours of time on weekends, and then stick to the course, learn the course, um, and then complete the course. Once you complete these 2 months of your journey, then in your hand you are with the great learning of front end in your hand. Then like that skill, whatever you learn, can never be taken away from you. But don't procrastinate. Don't think that I'm not understanding, I'm not learning, or something like that. Like stick to the course. Don't look at mobile phones. Stick to the class, and then answer the questions in the class. Do the assignments which I give on a daily basis, or sometimes on for every 2 days I give some assignments. Work on those assignments. Like I told you, like one hour I need for assignments. Don't think that it is assignment, you have some marks or something like that. So just I'll give the assignments, but I guarantee that I think career IT also, like a lot of students were there. um, uh, like whoever completes the complete assignments, and then or whoever completes the complete project which I give whenever I started this Angular course, like they will for sure they'll get the job. That is for sure, that is guaranteed. Like, I have my experiences in career IT as well, but in other training institutes as well. So uh, uh, please make sure. I think most of the people have got the course content. Please go through the course content. Sometimes like we will deviate from the course content sometimes, due to practical reasons. Like sometimes some topic goes little overhead over the class, or sometimes I feel we need to cover that in the next session or something like that. Like uh, due to some practical reasons, uh, like there we will move ahead from the course content, and we will switch some of the things there. But otherwise we will go along with the course content. I think most probably all of you have got the course content, right? Like we will add some things to the course content, or if not, like if you don't get it, you can ask Vijaya for the course content. She can send that to you. That's not a big deal. uh, yeah, but what I need is, we will go mostly practical oriented training. Like I'll most of the times I'll point out the interview questions from interview perspective, or practical points from practical experience which I have from past 8 years in the IT industry. um, we will learn all those things, and then we will move ahead as on this course. But what I want is from you, like I don't know, like if you're paying the fee, or you're from consulting, or something like that. Finally it's your time. I want you to pay attention for every day for 1 hour in the course content, and after course revising that, and then working on for next 1 hour every day, 2 hours. That's the time which you need to assign for learning the course. um, so yeah, that's about it. Okay, so any other questions on the course related part, which you want to cover, which you want to ask?
Hi, Arun. I
Yeah.
see the course content like in the next, like after the 4 weeks, last 4 weeks, you become the heading mentioned as Angular, but React JS was there bottom to it. So we'll be going to React JS after completing of Angular, or it's going to be parallel.
So like that course is for offline teaching. Like that is mostly for my course. Angular course is for 8 weeks, but after we have started online, like we did put that into like 6 weeks course content. That is not 8 week course content. That is 6 week course content. So like due to the reason like we are taking 3 hours on Sundays uh, 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 in this. So that's why like it reduced by 2 weeks. In the latter 2 weeks, we start with React or we'll start React parallelly. That but until JavaScript has been started, until JavaScript is started, React will not start. After JavaScript, like it's okay to learn both at the same time, but we will see how it goes. But the course will be for 8 weeks. Last 2 weeks is for Angular, and last 2 weeks is for the remaining 2 weeks is for React. That's how it has been designed. Because we are taking 3 hours of Sunday sessions, that's where that week concept has been like little bit deviated. Okay.
Okay. So for both the cases, like first 4 weeks would be same, and after that, either we have to choose. We can learn both, but if you want to opt either React or Angular, so we can go with it, right?
Opting I don't think is there, but we see like Angular will start for sure. Angular I'll only take for sure. Angular will start after completion of JavaScript, and after Angular React will start. That's a planned way of, that's how we have planned. First 2 weeks will be Angular, and after later 2 weeks will be React. But that's how like it has been designed, but we will see how it goes. Like sometimes I will also take the React, and if I take like, we will see like if I want to close the course a little bit faster, we take it parallelly, but most of the times it's not. So first we will choose Angular, and after that we choose React. That's how it goes. If there's a change in plan, I will let you know, but for now you can assume that first 2 weeks will be for React. First 2 weeks is for Angular, and second 2 weeks is for React. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And Arvind, is it going to be the same timings on the weekdays?
Weekdays, like we will see. I think career IT, like Vijaya will talk to you. I think mostly it is on same timings at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, but we will see like based on the most of the majority of the candidates. If you want, we'll shift here and there, but it is not in my hands. It basically depends on the kind of students who will attend.
Okay, okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, any other questions with respect to course, on a course overview? Yeah, okay. So okay, so now we have learned something about software engineer on an overview. Now we have also like learned, like we have also seen something with respect to the course, whatever we do with respect to the course and all these things. And next, like we will see some roles in the current market right now. Like what kind of roles are there in the current market. So nowadays everybody is following agile methodology. Agile methodology in the software means like agile means like you have to be fastly, or you have to be reactive, a reactive kind of methodology, where there will be 2 week sprint. Sprint is like most of the people do running na. Like I do 200-meter sprint or 100-meter sprint, like that. Similarly, in software development, most of the people follows 2 week sprint. Most of the people follow 2 week sprint. So right now we are talking about roles in the software industry. Now we talk about kinds of software engineers here. Now we talk about roles in the software industry, but how a project is working or something like that. So either it is in US or India, the terminology is the same. Like most of the teams works in the same way. 99.9% of the teams, except that you're working in support projects or something like that, the terminology or methodology might change. But if you're working on development, most of the times you will. Front-end engineer like support will be pretty less. Like there are there, but it will be less. Most of the times you'll be working on development only. So the roles for that includes the roles like in agile. Most of the teams follow agile methodology. Agile methodology means 2 weeks of sprint. Um, 2 week sprint. So in 2 week sprint, you need to complete the tasks which has been assigned to you in this 2 weeks. So mostly in a team, so there is called as PM. PM stands for product manager. Nowadays, like product manager is the one who gives you the requirements, who gives you like who tells you what you need to do, who tells you what you need to do. So product manager, most of these people are from MBA. Who does the MBA, who does engineering, and after that who does MBA. Most of these fellows will be sitting in the product manager side. So
Hello.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Arvind garu, sorry to interrupt you. Hello everyone, this is Lakshmi from Career IT. So important info from our end. The regular sessions will be starting from tomorrow only, that is Monday IST, which falls Sunday evening for USA people. And the timings would be from 7 to 8 a.m. IST. We'll be sending all the details clearly in mail. So everyone please check your mail. For more details, you can reach us. What are the numbers I am going to provide in short. Thank you. Yeah, Arvind garu, please, you can carry on. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vijay garu. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So mostly kind of organizing kind of things I don't actually do. Organizing kind of things mostly handled by Vijay or somebody from Career IT. So based on the students feedback and everything, that will be decided. So there you go. You have got the response. Okay, fine. Let's get back to the course thing. So there is a fellow called as PM, product manager. Like this fellow. Is mostly has done the engineering and then has done the MBA. So has written the CAT or those kind of fellows now. Mostly like CAT or whatever. He has become MBA or paid seat in which called as business schools. People call it as business schools now in India. Those fellows will work as product manager. This fellow's job is nothing. This fellow's job is taking the requirements from the end user and then converting that requirements to user stories, converting that requirements to user stories. So that's called as user stories. Or sometimes he will not do it. Sometimes developers also does it. But the main job is converting the requirements to user stories. User stories means a simple tasks which you can work on, which you can understand, and which you can work on. That fellow is called as PM, product manager. And there is a fellow called as PPM. PPM means technical project manager. So technical project manager, like these roles and responsibilities will be a little different. This fellow's job is following up with developers or following up with product managers, or this fellow's job is just making sure that work is getting delivered in the given sprint, in the given 2-week sprint. Let's say if you have user stories, if you want to get if people want to get delivered, that's where technical project manager comes into picture, and he will work on every day morning. There's a concept called as stand up, in which people sit together and attend the meetings, and then in that TPM will ask what is the status of the project, and every person will explain the status. So that fellow's job is technical project manager. Sometimes this is also managed by, this role won't be present sometimes in some companies. Sometimes this is also managed by your manager, your real manager. But most of the times there is a job called as project manager and then technical project manager, and that fellow does the job. And then actual developer, and then QA. So most of the companies don't think that developer and QAs are two different entities. Most of the fellows think that they are the same. But just for your understanding, I'm just giving you, developers is the one who works on development, either back end or front end, those kind of things. There will be developers, and there will be QA. QA works on what you have developed in the current sprint. QA will actually verify that whether that is working fine or not. In big companies like Walmart or like Amazon, or like most of the times, QA role won't be there. Developers only will do most of the testing. Like if you develop something, then that should be that should be working fine. That depends on the company to company. I don't strictly talk on that, but most of the companies will have dev and QA. Like 99.9% companies will have dev and QA. Development, you will do the development, and QA will actually sit there and find bugs in your code. Their job is to sit there and find bugs in your code. QA also, like there are two kinds of things, like manual and automation. So manual QA and automation. So here also in automation part, like that fellow will learn Java. In automation QA, that fellow will learn Java, and that fellow will work on tools like Selenium. There are a lot of tools in the market right now, so they'll work on those tools. QA. Okay, and there will be a release, depends to company. After 2 weeks sprint there will be a release. That means so so after 2 weeks sprint, like people move your code to production. Like it will be deployed in production. Who will do that? This fellow DevOps is there now. That fellow will do the deployment. That depends on company to company. Again, I don't strictly say DevOps will only do the deployment. Sometimes developers also will do the deployment. That depends on the company to company, company's process. Okay. After the release, like it'll move to the production. It will be moved to the production, and in production there is some issue will be there. And that's where, if there is some issue, support people will come into picture. If there is some issue, support people will come into picture. Support people will see, like that fellows will not be part of the sprint. That will be a different team. Support team will be almost always different. Like in companies like Amazon or those kind of things, there is no concept of support. A developer, like who develops the code, that fellow should handle, like most of the product-based companies, not just Amazon, like most of the product-based companies, they will have the developers who build it will own it. Like who build it only will monitor it. Who build it will only monitor it. So, but a lot of other companies, usually have the support. That support will take care of, like there is ticketing queue where tickets will come, and then you will look into the tickets. Support people will look into the ticket, and based on the ticket, if the ticket needs to be fixed, then that will be assigned back to developer. But if that doesn't need to be fixed, then it will be closed then and there itself. That's what the support people does. So for most of this work, you usually use software called as Jira. I don't know the full form of Jira, don't ask me that. Jira is software which is used to, like, your user stories will be created in this Jira, and then most of it you will track in Jira. There are a lot of other software also, but Jira is most popular nowadays. Most of the companies uses Jira. Jira is nothing but simply your ticketing tool, which you use like some simple ticket generation tool where there will be a ticket, and then people will work on that ticket, and then move the ticket, complete that ticket, and move that to the end phase. So that's what, this is an agile way of doing. Like if you go in depth, there is, so if I talk about this in depth, there is fellows who do these certifications. This technical project manager na, this fellow will do certifications with respect to this agile methodology, with respect to this Jira, those kind of things. That is this fellow's job. We don't need to bother about this that much, but we have to have the good understanding of what is a product manager. Product manager is basically the one who creates the Jira, who creates the user stories for us, and we as a developer will work on those user stories. And then as a QA, we'll do the manual testing or automation testing. Most of the times it is in sprint, most of the time it is manual. And then once the manual test is done, you will release your code to production. And once in production, if there is some issues, support team will come into picture. And see, if let's say if you make a mistake, let's say most of the companies have the support team, but let's say you make the mistake while you're developing, let's say QA, most of the times QA will not be able to find that mistake, because as a developer, like most of the times QAs are like simple calm fellows. They will come, they will sit, they will enjoy, they'll sip their cup of coffee, and then most of the times they will leave. If somebody pressurizes, have you completed the testing, then he will just mark it as yes. What will happen? Nothing will happen. He'll just completely mark it as yes, and then he will leave for the day. He will not test also. Like who will guarantee? There is nobody will do the recording of whether you have done the QA or not. But as a developer, we cannot do that. We developer, we have to develop the things, we have to show the things. But QA doesn't need to show anything. Like sometimes, like some QAs will just do. I'm not saying it's just a joke. Like a lot of people does it. A lot of people mainly work on QA, does the testing. But yeah, I'm just kidding. Like don't think that QA will not work or something like that. So QAs also will work. And then if there is some bug, if let's say QA is not able to find the bug, and then it goes to support, and let's say if it is caught in support, like you see, support people will create one ticket. They will discuss on that internally, and then they will assign that back to our QA, and QA will first test it and reproduce the issue. And then, like if QA is not able to reproduce the issue, then that will come to dev again, and dev has to reproduce the issue, and they have to fix the issue. That's a huge thing. Like if you make a mistake in dev while you're developing, then that's a huge process which comes. But
So
but
Arvind, as you brought the testing part, just I have a question. Like, as part of our course, okay. So, are you going to cover like the concept of unit testing, like is how for the JavaScript and the Angular part actually?
Yeah, for Angular part, we'll cover the testing. Little bit, not in depth. I don't cover that in depth,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's
little.
not in deep actually. At least like is to the team, like is if they get some idea how
Yeah,
in the
that is there. I think that is there as part of the course content. Like we'll cover the unit testing. Yeah,
okay.
guaranteed. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But as you know, most of the people does these mistakes, and this flow nowadays goes like this, like this, like this, and there are a lot of um, calls, meetings, a lot of things will be there for a simple issue, and then that's where the most of the people waste their time in figuring out what is the issues and what we need to do. So uh, that's a continual process in this world of software engineering. That's where people
Yeah,
get revenue.
Arvind.
Yeah, yeah.
During the development process, so if there any issue or if there any doubts, you people will help, right? In the company,
So in development,
like
while you're
developing the code. If
yeah,
any not able to do the work at the same time, so you people will help, right? To complete the task at the particular time.
you people in the sense like from the career IT perspective or like whatever you're working in the
Like,
company.
or you will be support for us, or career IT people will support us. Or could
So
you please
that
clear
like
that
you
one?
can, yeah, that you can talk to Vijaya or like whoever is your admin for the course.
Okay.
I cannot comment on that right now. Like Vijaya can answer that question for you. You can talk to her like after the course or something like
Yeah.
by taking the phone numbers. But see, well, if you join as a developer, right? Like first 1 month, nobody will ask you anything. If you're not doing good, also like first 2 weeks, first two to 3 weeks, nobody will ask you anything in the current company also. Uh, Usually because
Okay.
you are new, so most of the times like they will help you. The team, most of the companies, the team like near you will help you. But after 2 to 3 weeks, you have to figure that figure that work. But most of the times it will be that way. Like
Yeah, I understand. What I'm asking is, you will be support for us, right? During the development process. So if we are not able to do that work at particular time or particular sprint or task or something, so you will be support us or you will give guidance like how to complete the task in required timings. So like that.
that you can talk to Vijaya once, or
Yeah.
whoever is admin for your course. She will answer your
Okay.
question. I'm just giving you the overview of the content. Like um, this is okay.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Okay. That's all for today. I have anything else you want to discuss? Like we can start with actual course. So just give me 1 minute. Hello. Yeah. Sorry for the delay. Like you have any other questions? Like you can talk. Otherwise, we can start the course like based on the schedule which will be given by Career ID. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, Arvind.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Arvind. Thank you.